Was this something that came like naturally to you, like doing these videos, or you had to like?
No,
kind
I
of...
kind of really had to coach it.
Yeah, it's quite natural, I guess. And now it's like a million years in. It's easy. Hi guys, and welcome to today's video where we are going to show you how to prep the nail order way. Okay guys, so the first thing that we are going to do for our prep today is we are going to sanitize our hands using our multi-purpose spray. This one is a Maldives, which is a delightful holiday type scent. And we are just going
vacation
to,
if you're in America.
Yeah, sanitize the hands, both sides, before we get started. Now, this is the only point that we are going to use any sort of cleansers, dehydrators, etc. on the nails. Because we do not believe in over dehydrating the nails because it can lead to retention and stuff like that. So we are now not going to use any extra dehydrators, IPA, cleansers, acetone, anything on the nails now going forward. So everybody has a different method of doing their prep, whether it is by eFile or manual. If you are wanting to do a manual method of prep, we're going to recommend using a 180 or potentially a 240 grit nail file. So we are going to use a 180 grit nail file to lightly etch the nail plate. So I'm going to show you one finger doing manual. I much prefer to do eFile prep, but we will show you one finger using manual anyway. So 180 or 240, the reason we're not using something lower than this, such as a 100, 120, is it's far too harsh for the natural nail, and we don't want to use a buffer because it is not going to make the nail plate grippy, which can also affect your retention. So this method of prep is the same method of prep that I apply to all of my nail treatments, regardless of what they are. I feel like it just stands you in good stead. You're not going to get confused, or what treatment am I doing, or what prep should I be doing. I just adopt the same method of prep for every single treatment that I am doing. So the whole point of this is to create those little etches for the enhancement to adhere to. We are not wanting to file through the nail, so we're really only wanting to go over each area of the nail once, just to lightly etch the surface and remove the shine. So when I dust the nails, I like to dust backwards. The reason for that is during your prep, you're going to be doing things with the cuticle and you may be pushing the cuticle away, and then if you brush forwards, you're going to re-flatten the cuticle, which we obviously don't want to do. So I can just see a little bit of exposed nail there that we didn't quite get. It's really important to be thorough and ensure that you get absolutely the full surface prepped. So I am now going to go in with the pushes. Again, everybody does these things in a different order. I struggle with the order of manual prep because I just always do eFile prep, so it's a little bit different. I guess technically if you're doing a manual prep, you probably want to push the cuticles first. The reason being is it's going to expose more of the natural nail. So now I am just going to go in with my nippers, and I am just going to nip away any lifted areas of dead protein. And now if you're doing a manual prep, a really good tool to go in with is something like a scraper tool. Something such as this is really good for scraping it down the sidewalls and just getting rid of any little bits of dust. I am, in full transparency, going to go back over this with my eFile because I'm just more confident with that. Okay, so now I'm going to show you guys what I do with my eFile prep. Again, everybody does prep a different way, and it is absolutely okay to do it the way that you do it. The main things that I am going to point out though are the grit of the nail file that you want to be using, either a sanding band or a nail file, not a buffer, and not adding any cleansers or dehydrators at this point or any further point. So I'm just going to go in with my sanding band. I am using a mini sanding band because I really like them. And again, the same as when we did it with the nail file, we aren't wanting to go over one part of the nail really more than once. We're not wanting to thin out the nail. We're just wanting to create a nice grippy surface for the product to adhere to. So Sam just has had product removed, so there was a couple of little bits of product still present. And again, we're going to carry on. So I like to use my sanding band to push the cuticles and remove any proteins from the cuticle area, dead proteins from the cuticle area. instead of using a cuticle pusher. I've always done it, and I just find it creates a really good finish, and it does a lot of the work for me. I'm going in with this anyway, so I might as well. So we would always recommend the use of a dust extractor when we are doing nail treatments, but because we are doing this YouTube video, it really affects the sound quality, and that is the reason that we are not using a dust extractor today. But in a sound environment, we absolutely recommend the use of a dust extractor, especially when you're doing removals and infills and things like that, and that's generating product dust. Because that can lead to allergies and things, like constant exposure to product dust. Again, you always want to be wearing gloves, PPE where possible, to protect yourself. Especially as a nail tech, you're going to be in constant contact with the products, which can obviously lead to overexposure and allergies, so it's really important to protect yourself. Okay, so once we have etched all of the nails, now I'm going to start my cuticle prep. So the first thing that I am going to go in with is I am going to go in with one of the mini cuticle bits. I like all the mini ones because I think they just get into all the little nooks and crannies. Okay, so I know we obviously manually did this one already, but I'm just going to really improve things by doing it with the eFile too. So again, it's really important to remove all dead proteins from the natural nail plate. These can cause lifting if they are left in place and you put product over the top of them. Oh, missed the finger.
So if someone's never used an eFile before, where can I learn more about it?
I would really recommend in-person training for eFile. We work closely with Lucy Pastorelli, who has training providers all over the UK, and it's a really, really thorough training. I would highly recommend, I think I've talked about this before, when you are doing training on certain treatments, I would say full cover tips and eFile are probably those two main treatments I'm talking about. Those are the treatments that you want to be doing face-to-face training for. Well, not necessarily face-to-face training, but you want to make sure that you're doing the training from a brand that specializes in that product. The reason being is they are quite, they're very specific treatments. Obviously with an eFile it can be dangerous if not done properly. I guess any nail treatment can be. So yes, I would highly recommend doing training with a brand for eFile. So I'm just going to go in now and nip away any little bits of cuticle that require. This is always the most nerve-wracking part, doing it on camera as well, because I don't have as clear a view as I would without the camera being there. And you know how much of a nightmare it is if you nip somebody. It's never ideal. I think everybody takes a lot more time with prep these days than ever before, and it really does help, obviously, one with retention and two with the finished result and the way that you are presenting that to people in terms of pictures and stuff like that. So yeah, it's nice to take time with your prep. So now I'm going to go in with another cuticle bit. So this is a tiny ball, I think it's called, and again we've already gone over it, but look how much more dead proteins is coming off. So what I'm going to do with my eFile is I'm actually going to go down the right hand side of the nail in reverse. Once I've done this left hand side, it's going to give us a much more thorough prep. It is always best to use the eFile in both directions. So now I'm going to pop it into reverse, and then I'm going to go down that right hand side.
So a client come in and they had quite dry and cracked skin around the cuticles. Would you still work on it in the same way, or would you maybe?
It's always important with every client to see how much they can tolerate, and that's both if you're doing manual or eFile prep. Everybody's skin can tolerate a different amount. It also depends, I'd say, how often they get their nails done. So Sam's only ever had her nails done once. So I would say she is slightly more reactive than somebody who's used to having their nails done a lot. Again, I'm dusting backwards. So just see how their skin is reacting, see how they're tolerating it. If they're using an eFile and their skin's getting particularly red, you will want to just leave it as such. It's not necessarily to do with how dry the person's skin is, it's just that everybody can tolerate a different amount of work being done to them. So now I'm just going in with, what is this guy called? Oh, Diamond Barrel. I like this guy for sort of polishing up the sidewalls. Also, I know Sam's been doing a lot of manual labour recently, haven't you? So the poor nails have got the damage.
What manual labours?
Making wedding invitations, lots of
Oh.
Okay, so again, I'm going to pop it into reverse. I'm not going to work on this one because this finger has already got a little nick in it from previous, so I'm just going to avoid that finger. So it's amazing how a really good prep can expose so much more of the nail. Okay, so again, a little dust. We like to use these dusting brushes. They're really easily sanitizable because they are sort of plastic. So we want to make sure we've got a really, really good dust of the nails. And then we are ready for our treatment. Obviously, you do want to make sure you get rid of as much dust as possible. If you do have any dust stuck down the sidewalls, again, this little scraper tool is a really, really good thing to go in with, just to get rid of any little bits of dust that might be jammed down there. Clean up those sidewalls a little bit more. Trying to get in to see. Okay, so depending on what treatment the client was now getting, you could go in and shape the nails. We are going to be doing full cover tips after this, but obviously at this point you would then shape the nails ready for whatever treatment you were doing. So this is the way that we would recommend doing prep for any nail order treatments, whether that is a builder gel, full cover tips, hard gel, gel polish. We would recommend doing this exact method every time, and you're going to get maximum retention results. I hope you enjoyed that, guys. If you did, make sure you give us a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to be notified when we next release our videos. Bye guys!